Hello and welcome back to Rule the Game. In this video, I'll show you how to play one of the Essen highlight games from 2024, a game called Sparks. Usually, I would tell you now who designed this game, but there are 4 designers here, and I'm going to butcher all of those names, so I'm rather not going to try. You can read them down in the description below. The game is for 1 to 4 players, it lasts about 45 minutes, and it's recommended for starting at age 12. As usual, I'll start with showing you how to score the game, then we'll go into how to play the game. I'll give you some tips for your first game, and afterwards I'll show you how to set up the game. I will not mention how to play the one-player version, plus there's also an advanced version that has some gold cards. I'm not going to use those either, but I'm showing you the basic game so that you can get started with it. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe below. But now let's get started. Rule the game. In Sparks, we're building robots. So at the end of the game, everybody's going to have a bunch of robots that they've built in their factory. They're 4 different colors, and so it's not a big surprise that up here on the main board, we also have 4 victory tracks where you count how many of those robots you build, and you'll get extra moves on this board during the game for other actions. Now, at the end of the game, everybody is going to have some of their markers here on the board on the 4 different trackers. You'll see here what color I am. I'm the red player here. And so for every one of those markers that we have here, you'll see up on top the victory points that the player scores for each tracker here. You see these paw symbols and with a number, and that's the victory points in this whole game. So for example, for this one, you'll get 2 victory points. For this one, you'll get 14 victory points. This one has 11 victory points, and this one has 4 victory points. You'll add up these. Then, on top, you're going to have an upgraded factory level, most likely, that is over here. That's this black marker here on your personal board. Here on the side, it says times 4, and it is actually times 4 the number of assistants that you bought during the game. I here have built 4 of these assistants, so I'll get 4 times 4, 16 points for the assistants. Those are the main parts where you get points, but then in addition to that, some of the assistants will have here some paw numbers too. Those you'll also add. In this case, it's actually -2 because apparently they're very good. Then you'll have some upgrade tiles like I have here with 2 victory points, another 2 victory points, 1 victory point here. And then we'll also get victory points for every full set of robots in the different colors. So in my case, I have just 1 set, which is this yellow, red, green, and blue set. I could just manage 1. 1 set gives you 3 victory points, as it says over here. And the last way you get points is here with the remaining cogs that you have in storage, where 3 cogs always give you 1 victory point. You add up all these different things. Whoever has the most points, of course, wins. And if there is a tie, then the person who has the most cogs remaining will win. If there's still a tie, then the person who has upgraded their factory the most will win. If there's still a tie, then the person who has built most robots will win. And if there's still a tie, then you finally share the win. And that's how you score that game. Now let's have a look how you play it. Sparks is played in 4 rounds. Every player will get an active turn in every round. But whenever a player has an active turn, all the other players get to play something too. In this example, I'm the starting player because I've got this battery here. Now that it's my turn, we're in the second round. I'm getting to play one of these markers that I have up here. You see, one of them is already gone. That was from the first round. So we're obviously now in the second round, and I have 3 different tiles that I can play. Before we start the turn though, I'll take the bag with all the dice, I'll shuffle them, and I'll take out 7 dice that go here on these little markers. As you can see, I pulled them out randomly, put them down in a row, and just left it on the number how they fell. If you don't like this, you can always take out 7 dice, roll them, and then put them on. But this is actually good enough. Now, as the active player, I'm going to get to decide which of these dice I want. However, I, as the active player, only get to pick dice from either the right-hand side or the left-hand side. But I get to decide how many, and how many is written down here in this big number. So let's say I take this one here and put it right on here so that you see that this is my active round. The red player is now playing, and I selected 5. So I'll take 5 of these dice from either the right-hand side or the left-hand side, and I'm going to take them and take them next to me. Now, as you can see, for the 2 3s, had I picked one of the 3s, in this case, there's a special ability that I would have been able to pick the 3 from the middle and not just from the sides. And if I had taken this one, I would have been able to take 3 from one of the sides, but I would have also been able to take 2 extra dice here from the bag. Again, I would have just taken out 2 dice and put them down in whatever way they were in the bag. Unfortunately, I got 2 1s here. Now, I did this here. So what comes next is now that the other players, in order of play, so in clockwise order, they will now also pick dice. But again, just like I did, they have to pick from the sides. So one player might take this 5, and the third player, as you see, we have a 3-player game, the third player might take this one. Please note that in a 2-player game, when it's my active turn, the other player gets to take 2 dice after I've taken my dice. And now we all play at the same time. They only have 1 die to play with. I got 5 dice to play with, and we now have to place dice. There are 3 different options that you have to place your die. The first action I'm going to show you is how to upgrade your factory. You see over here, you see this tracker here that shows you how strong your factory is. Now, what that means is over here, you see this victory points marker, that the paw with the time something I showed you in the very beginning. At the end of the game, we'll score the number of assistants that you built times the number that you have on the side here. So you want to be rather high up on this track to get a lot of points. Now, to upgrade, you always have to have at least the number of points here in this field, in this little triangle here, of 3 dice. You see here a yellow die, a green, and a blue one that could fit here. But in the triangle, you have to have at least 7 points to move this tracker now up, because here there's a 7. Let's say I did put a green die here, then we have 7. And in this case now, I can move this tracker 1 up. First, what we do is then we discard these dice here, and we will then get a spark because we upgraded by 1. I can use that spark later, and I'll show you how. You can also get tools if you upgrade. We're going to get to the tools later too when we finish this robot here. Now, because we play everything in sequence, you could now already plan to upgrade again. If you could play here at least 9 points. I currently don't have blue, yellow, or green dice that give me 9 points in total, so I'll leave it, but I could also place a 6 here if I wanted to do this. And once I have more dice later from another turn, I can then reach the 9 points and I can upgrade again. You can never skip a step here in the upgrade by going to 13 points right away, but you always have to do step by step, and every time you upgrade, you discard the dice and you have to start from scratch. The second action that you can do is that you build your robots. Now for this, we first have to see how the robots actually work. So as you can see, the robots up here, they always have a requirement that you need to build this robot. This means it needs a yellow die, a green die, and a die that has a 5. The color in this case for the 5 doesn't matter, while for the green and the yellow die, the number doesn't matter. You will see later that this symbol down below the requirement will give us the indication of how much we can move our marker here on this victory tracker. And on the bottom, you see what kind of goodies you get when you finish this robot. And you have here some bonus that you get right away. And there's some other cards that have these sparks, which are bonuses that you can get several times. Now, in our case, what we're going to do is we're going to place the red die on here. Now, what that means is that we're done with this robot. We're going to discard the 3 dice that we needed to finish this robot. And we're going to put the robot with the other robots that are finished. Now, first thing that we do is that we'll take our victory tracker here, the marker, and move it on the red track because I am red and I just placed the red robot that has here 1 red arrow. So on the red track, I'll move it by 1 because there's 1 red arrow. There could in some cases also be 2. Of course, if you have 2 arrows, then you move by 2 steps. If there's some sort of bonus tile in between here, when you make a step, you actually jump over this bonus tile. And then you get to do this bonus action. In my case, this is an upgrade. You see here the different upgrades that you can pull from. So whenever you jump over a tool and whenever you have a sign like here, a symbol that is plus a tool, you can pick one of these upgrade tools here. You need to know that you can only pick every tool once. You can never take them twice. There are different kinds of upgrades that you can get here. You'll see the 3 different kinds right here. There are these dark grayish ones. They go here because they're permanent discounts or permanent abilities that you get now for the rest of the game. I won't explain to you now what these upgrade markers are. For those, please have a look into the instructions. The white ones here, they go into these fields and they always give you a special ability for when you have a die of your color. In my case, that's a red die. You can use the red die with this symbol here to place it as any number. So if I had another red die with the number 5 here, I could place it down even on the 4 over here. That would be allowed. This symbol here is that if you have a red die, you can also place it as a yellow die if you feel like it. But it only works for your own color. And the third option that you have with upgrades is this more yellowish one, where you take one of the symbols here and you place it on one of these spaces down here. These are the upgrades that will help you that whenever you finish a robot, you'll get this bonus. For example, should I finish this robot, I'll get this bonus. And this bonus means that I'll get to move my victory marker up here by 1 more of the same color. So in this case, if I could finish this robot, then I could move it by 1 yellow. And because I have this, I can move it by 2 yellow. In this case, I don't have the dice. I'm missing a green die. I'm missing a 5 to actually finish this. Now, once you've moved the tracker over here, you also get a one-time bonus shown here by ×1, one-time bonus. In this case, I'm going to get a cog, an extra cog, and I'm going to get an extra die. So again, I reach in the bag, take one out, and place it right here. So this is how you build robots. So we've had 2 actions. One was upgrading here the factory. Second option was that you build a robot. There is a third option, third or fourth, however you want to call it. You could also potentially take 1 die, but only 1 die, and place it up here in storage. If you place a die in storage, you can use it again in the next round. And the instructions here say clearly that it should be in the next round. So I assume really it is the next round, meaning once we've gone through every player once and it's back to you, then you could use that extra die. Now, as you can see, I have 2 extra dice that I can't really place. Well, one I can place here, but I have this blue one that I can't really place anywhere. As you can see over here, there's some additional actions that you can do. For one, you can sell this 1 die for a cog. You just then put it in a discard pile and take a cog. The second option is that you use your cogs to change the number on this die. So in my case, if I used 3 cogs and discarded them, I could then change the number here from a 1 to a 4. And look at this, the 4 actually matches right here, which means I finished this robot. The robot goes up here. Again, as before, we're going to move my red tracker, because I'm red, on the yellow track by 1. And again, I will get an upgrade here. In my case, I actually already have all the upgrades. That should not be the case. Bad example here. Apologize. But I also get, look at this, I get 2 1s. I'll take 2 dice and I turn them onto the 1 side. There you go. And now I can place this one here again. And I still have one, a red one, that I could place actually also on here, because I have this special bonus that lets me turn all the red ones into any number. So I would have another 5. I could also build this robot. I'm going to skip this part. I think you get the gist. And you also realize that you can build chains here. So your turn can last quite some time. Third option that you have over here, you can pay 2 cogs to place 1 die as a different color. And then you have also an option here. You can pay in cogs to place assistants, to use assistants. At the beginning of the game, you'll get assistant cards. There are those here with the paw on the back. You get some of these assistants. As you can see, I already played 2. I could also play a third one. However, what this is supposed to mean is that for every assistant that you play, you pay 1 more. So if it's the first assistant, it costs you 1 cog. The second assistant costs you 2 cogs, and the third assistant costs you 3 cogs. I don't actually have 3 cogs in this case, but what I could have done is taken this red die and discarded it. I would get third cog. You can always, by the way, you can always sell dice that are already placed somewhere, but you can't rearrange dice. Once the yellow die is placed up here, it stays here. It cannot be moved down here again. So I have 3 cogs. I'm going to play my third assistant. And, it could be this one here. And this one actually says you pay another cog and you can complete a yellow robot. I could sell one of these dice and get a cog for it, put the cog away, but instead I can now complete the yellow robot, and then I put it here and I move the yellow, and so on and so on and so on. Now, as you can see, I can only build 3 robots in a turn. That usually doesn't work out, but some turns, especially towards the end, you can get enough chain reactions that might actually work out. There's one more activity that you can do during a turn, and that is you can play your sparks. Playing a spark means that you take the spark and you place it in one of these spark fields. And if you place it there, then you get the bonus from that field. In this case, I'll get 2 cogs. Now, of course, you can only play 1 spark there, but don't worry. Once the round's over and we start a new round, all the different sparks will be returned to you. Of course, you're not allowed to move 1 spark from 1 card to another card. Please note that also from the beginning on, you always have this action up here that you can activate with a spark. In every single round, you can get a free cog right here. You might need this in the first round, but you probably have better cards later, like this one here, that gives you 2 cogs rather than 1 cog. So now that I'm finished with my turn, I'm going to refill here the production line. I'm going to refill it by pulling a number of robots from the deck. In this case, it's 3 robots plus 1 extra. I get to look at them. I get to decide which 3 do I want. And the 4th one, you can either build a discard pile over here, or the instructions say just put it on the bottom of the deck so that you can use it again later. Had I had more robots here that I hadn't finished in this turn, I could have also discarded those cards if I had wanted to do so. But of course, if you have dice on them, they get lost, but you can sell them before you actually discard of these robots. But however many fields you have empty, at the end of your turn, you're going to refill those with new robots +1. Now, while I did all this, the other two players, they also got 1 die, each of them, and each player just played their die. They can play dice, they can play their sparks that they have, they can pay with cogs, they can do all kinds of actions, whatever they want to do. They might even finish some robots. They might have empty slots in the production line, which they then can fill with robots again. And so once everybody has finished their turn, then we move the active turn to the next player in clockwise order. That person will first discard whatever dice is still left. They will add 7 more dice right here. Then they will place their token here to indicate how many dice they'll take. They take their dice. The other players take their dice. Everybody plays again. And then it goes to the third player who does again, same thing. And then we're done with that round. And we come back to me. And this is now the point at the end of the round where we take all the sparks. Every player takes all the sparks and puts them back in storage. You actually see that in my case, I made a mistake. We finished the round and I still had extra sparks and I never used them. I should have done that much earlier. That's a mistake. You, of course, need to do that earlier. And that's all there is to it. You'll play those 4 rounds. Once all the turns are played, once nobody has any of these tokens up here anymore, looks empty, they're all right here, then that's the end of the game, and that's when we started counting. Please note that should you ever have a player at the end of one track, if you could still move that player later, then you'll just move any other color by however many steps you could make with this tracker. And here's some hints for the first game. In a 3 and a 4 player game, the victory tracker up here, meaning building robots, is the main way to get points. You'll get most of the points up here. And then the second most points you're actually going to get from the combination, the product of the assistance times the upgraded factory. So those are the 2 things. You definitely need to upgrade your factory during the game. You're going to get a bunch of points there. You're definitely going to use your assistants. You need your assistants because they give you special abilities that are very good. But most importantly, you need to build robots. You need to move these trackers forward. Now, what you might have noticed when I explained the game to you, these upgrades here are very helpful. So I personally would suggest to you that you try in the beginning to actually finish 2 robots from the same color. Because if I have 2 robots of the same color, or I have a robot that can move me 2 on the victory track, in that case, I'll get a first upgrade right away. And both the sparks are very helpful very soon, because if you have robots that use sparks, you can use this ability then in every single round once. But also if you have the upgrade tools, you can use these upgrade tools right away. And that will give you a significant advantage over the other players. So try to go for this first. Try to get the upgrades first. And then start looking more into here, upgrading your factory, or also moving your people along here a little more. Because upgrading your factory doesn't really give you that much of an advantage at the beginning, besides the fact that it also gives you a tool right away, so an upgrade tool from up here, but also another spark. And of course, always look out for chain reactions. Even if you're not the active player, even if you just get 1 die or 2 dice in a 2-player game, you still get the opportunity to actually really do a lot of stuff. You get to do a lot of chain reactions. I showed you some in the how to play section before, how many reactions you can actually follow after each other. And that's really the key, that you can do as many things as possible to really move everything forward. And that's it. that is Sparks. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy the game. And if you enjoyed the video, please go and subscribe below. And up next, I'll show you how to set up the game. To set up the game, you'll take the victory tracker board, you put it up here. You'll take these smaller little bonus tiles that have a question mark on the back, place them here on the question marks in random order. You then take the junkyard, put it underneath here. You'll place all the tiles of 6 different upgrade tools, all sorted, as you can see, they're all the same, right here. You will notice that you have actually 8 different kinds of upgrade tiles, but we're only going to put 6 here and the other 2 go back into the box. You will then take, for each player, their color of figures and place one of the figures each here at the beginning of each track. You'll place the cogs and the sparks next to everybody. You also shuffle the robots, and you shuffle the assistant deck. You put them next to the tracker here. And then each player will take the board of their color. They'll each take a spark that they put on here. They'll take this black marker, place it here on the bottom of the factory upgrade track. Then they take these tokens here that indicate what they can get on their turn. They'll place them up here. You'll notice that one of them says here 1 through 3 players or 4 players. So depending on if you have 4 players or one of the smaller numbers, then you'll take the corresponding side. You'll put all the dice in the bag, you shuffle them, and you're going to hand to starting player the battery. And before you get started, everybody gets 6 assistant cards that they take into their hand, and everybody also gets 4 robots, of which they place 3 robots right here in their production line, and the 4th robot goes under the deck again. And now we're ready to get started.